Alright, what's going on, you guys? It's your boy 3 Stacks in this thing, baby, representing Team Kings of Games. And today I'm actually going to be updating Galaxy Eyes PHOTON. So for this format, the approach I had to take was I had to cut down on certain cards that I really liked a lot because I had to make room for hand traps. This is one of those formats that kind of like, I like the format, but it does kind of suck that when you want to play decks like this, you have to make room for like so many hand traps, you know, because you'll get blown out by like decks that are just really, really strong. I mean, I think this deck's strong too. This deck can do almost similar things that other combo decks can do. I do play the Buster Lock because if people are going to be degenerate, I'm going to do the same exact thing. As a matter of fact, I think that in order to beat unfair, you have to be unfair, you know what I mean? So not only do I just play the hand traps that are necessary to beat combo to make sure that I don't just auto lose. Granted, I mean, you know, with a certain hand you can out the Buster Lock, but also at the same time, you know, I'm not trying to get my entire hand ripped out of before I even get a chance to play Yu-Gi-Oh! By Infernoble. So with those things in mind, and with Dino, keeping in mind, you know, all those really strong decks, I main deck a certain amount of hand traps, and I also play the Buster Lock to make sure that my ceiling's high enough, because certain decks can push through Infinity Lord and also Soul Flare, which is one of the best boards that this deck can make, truth be told. You know, it's a 3 interruption board, and you can back that up with hand traps or the Buster Lock to make it a little bit harder to push through. But these decks are just crazy strong right now. So let's go ahead and get into the list, you guys. I push more towards mid-range now. I'm trying to just make, instead of make like a super oppressive turn 1 board with like no follow-ups at all, I'm trying to push to a more recyclable board, kind of just rinse, wash, and repeat. So I'm thinking of a similar concept to like Sunlight Wolf, Rage, and Roar. How Salads will set up that same board over and over and over, and it's just good enough to survive. I'm just trying to set up a board that's good enough to survive with this deck, to make sure that my follow-ups are good enough so that I can go aggro again. And I feel like the Buster Lock in itself, just with 1 or 2 negates, is good enough to beat like combo. Anything that's not dinosaurs is good enough to beat those. Also keep in mind that like you do have Soul Flare. Soul Flare is like really, really strong against dinos. Truth be told, it's a really, really strong card. But let's go ahead and get into it, you guys. Let's get into this main deck. So we have 3 copies of Photon Dragon. This is the star of the deck, and this is what certain effects center around him. Like they literally have him in their text, where like they have to touch him. So the rotation I explained in my profiles is you want 1 in hand, 1 in grave, and then 1 in deck. Especially when Afterglow comes out, it's going to be really important to practice that rotation of 1 in hand, 1 in grave, and 1 in deck. No matter where the other 2 are, you always want to leave 1 in deck. That's going to be really important when Afterglow comes out. Right now, my list is playing Desires, which I don't like playing this deck, truth be told. I really don't. But like I just need those +1s. I need to see my hand traps because I just... Ugh. Like when you go first, you can't just set up like your normal boards. Like you need hand traps unless you can get access to the Buster Lock through Union Carrier, targeting one of your Dragon XYZs or him himself. Like you need hand traps. And on top of that, when you hand trap your opponent so much, because you're playing more hand traps, you're already inherently decreasing consistency from your deck because you're taking out cards that you want to actually use to play the deck and putting in hand traps in that place. So like I just feel like Desires is a necessary evil, which is another reason why it's really important. You just never really want to play any less than 3 of this card. It's just really, really good. Everything about him, his effect to summon, his effect in battle, he can deal, like if you could beta Borreload Savage and then battle it, you'll take its equips off. That's how you can also out the Buster Lock too, whether it's through Dark Roll No More or any other way you get through it. And then we have 3 copies of Galaxy Soldier. This is what makes Arclight like just really... Why does he say that? Why doesn't he just say discard a light monster? I don't understand. Why does he literally say specifically send 1 light monster from your hand to your graveyard? Why did they do that? Like, you know, I know obviously when they printed this card, they were like, there's never going to be a format where people are summoning Arclight like it's nobody's business. But dang, why does it have to say that? Why can't it be like dangers, just like discard? Like, this really sucks because this is one of your best starters. It's a starter, it's an extender, and it's a follow-up. That's the thing with all the searching, the monsters that search in this deck, because they put bodies on field, they search cards that already inherently become extenders, and they're starters themselves, and the cards they search can be follow-ups. And because any of them can be converted into Soul Flare, they inherently become +1s and +2s, because they search when they hit the field, and then you link them off, and then get a grab from graveyard as well. But you literally cannot resolve this card with Arclight on the field because it's a cost, which really sucks. That's why like Arclight sometimes can really it throws you off, man. And then next up, we're playing 3 copies of Galaxy Wizard. I really don't care what people say about the ratios of playing 3. I'm like an actual, like I play the deck, and the hands that like tend to brick are when you don't open a strong normal summon, and the only normal summons you're going to want in your comfort zone are going to be Wizard or Knight. And the only time Knight is good is when you can get him set up in the graveyard, whereas Galaxy Wizard is good all the time. It's good with Expedition, it's good with cards like Trance. It's a really, really strong card. Like, everything about it is good. You can even just use it as an XYZ material because it becomes a level 8. So I think from a less situational standpoint, that Wizard is always the most powerful normal summon. It baffles me that people play any less than 3 this, and that they would also try to attack people for playing more than 2, because there's just like this awkward mindset that so many people have in this game where they feel like there's a certain ratio that you're supposed to play, and if you don't play that, then there's something wrong with you, and that just doesn't make any sense. Like, what happened to just, why can't somebody just play the ratios they want to play, and it's totally fine? And then next up, we're playing 3 copies of Photon Orbital. This is absolutely a 3 of in this deck. Very similar to Soldier. He actually allows you to get your combo pieces without your normal summon, which is like super important. I mean, like, you don't have to normal summon Wizard or Knight. You can normal summon anything you want, but those are the normal summons you want. Like, you want to commit your normal summon to one of those cards. So that's why Orbital and Soldier are so good, because they can search you out the vital combo pieces you need without committing to your normal summon, because they don't have to be normal summon. The same thing with Photon Vanisher, which we're playing 3 of as well. This card is like one of my favorite cards in this deck. So like the XYZ effect is actually pretty relevant. The Banish effect whenever you like kill something by battle, that's relevant. And also like the fact that this card just replaces itself on summon to get you a Soul Flare ammunition basically. And then on top of that, like this card is a level 4 extender, which is like super good because I like actually summoning out the rank 4. I'll go ahead and just show you guys him. Starleech Photon Blast. This card makes all your monsters have the same protection that Dragoon the Red Eyes has. Dragoon the Red Eyes is like not good because he's an Omni Negate. He's good because like he can be targeted, he can be destroyed, and then he gets an attack boost. Well, like you pump up fields already full of beaters with multiple negations, but when you slap a Soul Flare next to that, now your opponent can't just like bait your negates with specific cards because they can be targeted and they can be destroyed by card effects. And in addition to that, they're huge. These monsters are so huge. Their attack statistics are ridiculous oftentimes. And it's just going to be really hard to break through that board. Your opponent won't be able to use spot removal card effects to deal with it. They can't Chaos Dragon Legionnaire and just pop because they can't be destroyed by card effects. So this card really helps to get quicker access to Soul Flare. And also, if you play Abyss Dweller in your list, Abyss Dweller can be really good. Whether it's Dragma, Dragon Link, or Infernoble, or Dinos, Abyss Dweller is good against all 4 of those decks. It's good for the Invocation Graveyard effect. It's good for any extra deck monsters that hit the grave off of like the Dogmatica cards, Dragon Link, Dino, you name it. The fact that you can like have rank 4 access in this deck on top of rank 5 access and rank 8 access gives you a pretty generic pool to access from the standpoint of just summoning XYZs. You have so many options. This card's just so good, you guys. And then I do play 2 copies of Galaxy Knight. Playing Desires just makes it even more risky playing 2. But I don't like playing 3 of this card. I just can't stand it, dude. Because this card is only as good as your hand is. And when your hands poop, Knight is not as good as Wizard. Wizard's good because when your hands poop, all you need to do is just get a Photon Engrave and you can search out Trance. Trance is like a 1-card play. So even when you have plays where you have Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon Engrave, but whatever means you got him into the grave, you could still transfer him and summon Lord. And Lord is like one of the best cards to end on in this deck. Like, truth be told, he gets you your follow-ups, he could search Sanctuary, he could search whatever you need him to search. Like, this is my big problem with playing 3 Knights. It's like that card just bricks. I'm sorry, like it bricks. It really does. Like, you're supposed to search it out when you already have Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon Engrave. You don't want to just hard draw it. When you hard draw it, it's already dead until you can actually combo off. And unless you can't, if you can't combo off, all it's ever going to be is just a level 8 normal summon. And at that point, Wizard's going to be better because he's a level 8 normal summon that actually does stuff as well. That's why, like, again, I'm really big on 3 Wizards because I think Wizard's better from the standpoint of just being able to do stuff by itself. Knight, of course, is incredible when you have Galaxy Eyes Engraved, but he's suited to that card specifically. It's almost like they're brothers. Then I play 1 Brave. This hurts my cojones to play 1. Playing so many hand traps in this deck only only sucks. I mean, it doesn't suck because it like makes sure you don't just die to like crazy decks that people are playing, but like it sucks for a deck like this because there's so many cards that you wish you could play, but when you have to squeeze in hand traps and you can't just be like, oh, I played 3 Ash, that's it, because you still lose. People could play through Ash. You have to cut down on ratios and cards that you like really like, and this was one of the cards I had to cut down on. Advancer is always like a one-of. It's just an extender when you need it to be. It doesn't suck to draw it, but you can also just play without using him. He's just part of the arsenal. He fills niches, and that's what's important about him. And then I do play the Dragon Buster Destruction Sword because I just feel like to beat Cheese, you have to be cheesy. So if they want to lock me out my extra deck, I'm just going to do the same exact thing to them and have no remorse, no mercy. So going into the spells, we're playing 3 copies of Sanctuary. This card is super duper powerful. And by the way, how you're using this is you're actually just going into Union Carrier. This deck can make like Union Carrier like nobody's business, especially because this is a 1-card Union Carrier. And it works when you've either already used Photon Orbital or you just decide that Buster Lock's more important than an extra search. And you equip this to any one of your dragons, which is just like, it's pretty easy to do in this deck. And then your dragons can be targeted or destroyed by card effects, and your opponent like can't use their extra deck, which is it's just so good. So like Sanctuary is like a 1-card combo because it's a 1-card orbital, and I mean not a 1-card orbital, it's a 1-card Union Carrier. But Union Carrier can equip orbital to himself. Like ABC players do this play, like this is a Galaxy play. So you use Union Carrier to equip orbital to himself, you sack it off, and you get a free search. So for example, when you open Photon Sanctuary plus Vanisher, that's actually a 2-card combo where you can go into Union Carrier, equip orbital, sack it off, and you can basically search out Galaxy Soldier. But you special the Vanisher first because you control the Photon tokens. Search Galaxy Eyes, and then the carrier gets Orbital, which searches Galaxy Soldier. And then you do your 2-card combo of Galaxy Soldier plus Galaxy Eyes, discard it. Special Soldier, search for Knight, normal Knight, bring back the Galaxy Eyes, overlay into Photon Lord. And like that's a really cool 2-card combo because like you have bodies on field that like replace themselves. So the leftovers will be the Vanisher and the Soldier, so you link those into a Soul Flare under the Union Carrier. So you get 2 interruptions off of a 2-card combo, but you get 3 bodies that can potentially replace themselves because Soul Flare gets a card from grave. Union Carrier can equip another orbital next turn if it doesn't die, and Photon Lord searches. So you'll have 5 cards in hand at the end of that 2-card combo. You keep all 5 cards because both the cards you're gonna have 4 cards, my bad. But you're going to get the 5th card back off of the Photon Lord on your opponent's turn. So like Sanctuary makes your deck a lot more consistent. Because Union Carrier exists, this card is actually a starter. Before, it was just like Soul Flare or it was food to summon out Galaxy Eyes. But now this is actually a searcher. It's like 3 more orbitals. So yeah. Next up, we're playing 3 copies of Galaxy Expedition. So cards like these also let you play through hand traps, especially Imperm or Ash or Valor on Galaxy Soldier to follow up with Expedition. And what you want to do if you don't want to just go Infinity Pass, you Expedition out for your Galaxy Knight. You link the Knight and the Soldier into Soul Flare. You use Soul Flare to grab the Knight from your graveyard. And that was what you were going to search off the Soldier initially before they Ash Veiler or Impermed it. And what you do is just add the Knight that you specialed from your deck off Expedition to your hand, then normal summon it, bring back the Galaxy Eyes that you searched, that you discarded for cost off Soldier, and then you make your Soul Flare. So this card pushes through hand traps. I was like, this deck is pretty good, playing through hand traps like Ash, Imperm, Valor, and sometimes Gamma. Nibiru, it actually has plays where you can, before your 5th summon, you can put up a Monster Negator, which is like really cool. And it's a Monster Negator that can be destroyed by card effects as well, which is like another plus, like a huge plus. So this deck can play through a lot of the best hand traps. including like combinations of it. If your opponent tries to like wait too long and they don't read cards, you'll stick Soul Flare. I mean, you'll stick what's his name? Starleech Photon Blast on the field, and what will happen is your opponent will attempt the standard like Imperm Valor or Imperm Nibiru Valor or Nibiru Imperm combination, where they'll try to target your Soul Flare that negates the Nibiru, and then they'll have to reread the fact that like Photon Starleech Photon Blast says everything but him can't be targeted or destroyed by card effects, so they'll be forced to redirect their target to him because that's the only legal target, and now the Nibiru Imperm doesn't work. So like if your opponent doesn't play Galaxy Eyes and they don't know what the cards do, even Imperm Valor, like if they hold it, just like trying to use like Nibiru plus Imperm or Valor, you still could play through it if they don't know what they're doing. Like, which means all they have to do is not read cards, and that's a very that's not a high expectation coming from Yu-Gi-Oh players. Most of them don't read cards anyways. And then next up, we play 3 copies of Desires, and then also 3 copies of Trade-In. So like you do have quite a few power spells in this deck. I think that's like super vital. Consistency is key with this deck. Even though you have 12 searchers, which are all super great, and you have Sanctuary, which makes technically 15, and then you do have access to a power starter like Expedition. Consistency is still key because you need to draw 2 to 3 of those cards to make a super strong board. And also, like, all the hand traps can clunk up your hands, you know what I mean? Like, they're not combo pieces. That's a big problem. That's why I like to normally go all gas. If we were in a format where your opponent wasn't ripping every card out your hand or locking out your extra deck, I wouldn't mind not playing any hand traps at all and just playing normal Yu-Gi-Oh! Where you just play through multiple negates and try to break the board. But now it's multiple negates with, like, you have no hand. Or multiple negates with, like, no extra deck, you know what I mean? Dino's probably, out of all those decks, Dinosaurs is probably the most fair one, and they're still OP. But anyways, consistency is key, so you have the 6 draw spells. And then I play the 1 of Trance. This card is super duper strong. I had a build before where I played 3 of this, because it's really that good. Like, this card is, it's fire. And then I play 1 Galaxy Zero. It's a searchable Monster Reborn. There's a combo you can also do in this deck with 2 Warriors, including one of them being Vanisher, where you just drop a Vanisher, search Galaxy Eyes, link the Vanisher and another Warrior into Isold, use Isold's effect to like search for something just to make it a free combo, dump Galaxy Zero for cost, special summon Infernoble Knight Renald, use Renald to grab your Zero from grave, activate the Zero, bring back not your Vanisher but your Thrasher or your Orbital or whatever it was, the other Galaxy or Photon Warrior that you use, bring it back. Then link Renald and that card into a Union Carrier because they're both Warriors. And you have Isold plus Union Carrier. Union Carrier equip Photon Orbital, sack it off, and then you get Galaxy Soldier. So you have Galaxy Soldier from Orbital off of Union Carrier, Galaxy Eyes off of Vanisher, and the Warrior being whatever it was you searched off Isold, so you get like a +5. And you get to search Galaxy Soldier and Galaxy Eyes before you normal summon. So now you can do your 2-card combo. So that's something I'm considering. If I can find a copy of Renald, I'll modify my extra deck and put Isold and play a 2nd copy of Galaxy Zero. Because that's a really strong combo. It makes Vanisher Thrasher like a super impactful 2-card combo. Where now you can open 2 Warriors in this deck and get like a lot of results out of it. And then speaking of, I play the 1 Rhoda. And that's pretty much going to sum up the spells. The rest of the deck is the part that I don't really want to play in this deck, but I have to. So the hand traps are choice. 3 Nib, 2 Valors, 2 Ghost Ogres, and also 3 Infinite Impermanents. These are good because they're light, so they're Galaxy Soldier food, so they're pseudo combo pieces, but they're still bricks. And Imperm is just really important because it's a hand trap that you don't play into talents with, which is super important. This is what makes this deck able to be competitive right now. The deck is good by itself without hand traps, but you need hand traps to simplify the game state to make sure that your opponent is not able to do like really crazy degenerate stuff against you before you get the chance to do the same to them. Because like I said, you fight cheese with cheese. And so that's the main deck. For the extra, so since I took out my Galaxy Cleric, which is like one of my favorite cards, I had to go this route, which is like super important. I cannot stress how important Soul Flare is in this deck. Like even playing 2 you still like it will come up multiple times where you just need the third over and over. That's why I like the cleric play of recycling this to just loop this in cleric. But like because I'm not playing cleric, 3 soul flares is like super duper mandatory. This card allows your deck to have a lot more recovery. This is why you can do like your soul flare lord is like a standard board with this deck where you just go soul flare lord. And what you do, you can just use the Lord. Is why like it's super replaceable because you use Lord to search Sanctuary, and you just activate Sanctuary even if your board gets broken. Make a Soul Flare off the 1 Sanctuary, add Galaxy Knight from graveyard to hand, normal him, bring back Galaxy Eyes, and you make Soul Flare Lord again, but easier because it's off of 1 Photon Sanctuary because your board's already established. So these cards are like your go-tos. These are supposed to be in every single inboard, whether you're slapping an Infinity or a Titanic Galaxy or a Union Carrier for the Buster Lock, whatever it is, you're making sure that Soul Flare and Lord are like priorities because these cards replace themselves. They give you super duper strong interruptions with protection, and also this is the easiest board to make in this deck in the first place, and this is the board you can make through the Galaxy Trance restriction. But like triple Soul Flare is just like really important. That's why like I'm just stressing so hard. Like you just really need it. Because like when your opponent simplifies the game state against you, resolving impactful cards just like Soul Flare alone just to get cards back from your graveyard to your hand so that you can maintain your resources is extremely vital. Because like you can open a perfect hand of hand traps and your opponent will too. You guys will hand trap each other and now it becomes like a top deck war. But like Soul Flare makes the top deck war a lot better because no matter what you draw, as long as you have impactful cards in your graveyard, like the Photon Orbital, you resolve turn 1 or turn 2, you can get the Orbital back just by making a Soul Flare, and that turns into a playmaker for you. So Soul Flare is really important. And also, one of its most vital effects, I'll go ahead and read you. It's like a pseudo giant for special summon monsters, but this is what makes it so good. So during your opponent's main phase quick effect, discard 1 Photon card and 1 Galaxy card. Go ahead and neglect that entire cost and just rewrite it as discard Galaxy Eyes to pop a special summon monster that your opponent controls. This is super duper powerful. It's a super impactful card. This also helps against Dinos because when they try to chain Miscellaneous Source to your hand trap, you could still chain Soul Flare to pop before Miscellaneous resolves, putting them under protection. So this can be super duper impactful. Every matchup this is good because it stops cards like that chain block and etc. And this is actually really, really good, especially when your opponent, like you can hold this, and when they try to summon Access Code Talker on resolution of his effect to get his attack boost, you just use Soul Flare's effect to pop. So this card is like an interruption in itself and its recovery for tempo. So Soul Flare and Lord are like your go-to, your bread and butter cards in this deck. Union Carrier and Hashima are the other 2 links to this deck. So these are very important as well. Union Carrier gets you access to Orbital and also to the Buster Lock. Sometimes you just equip dragons off of this like Galaxy Eyes, etc. So you can set your graveyard up for like future plays in the next turn. So Orbital is very versatile. It also helps you to beat over 4,000 Dragoons, etc. Because you can actually summon out your full armor Photon Dragon at 4,000 and make them go up to 5,000. Or you can just, in the chain of stacking with Cypher Blade, put them at 4,200 to beat over the Dragoon that already negated and got his attack boost. And then we have Ashima. So cards like Ahashima and Union Carrier and Soul Flare are also help to play through hand traps like Ash Blossom, Infinite Impermanence, and also Effect Veiler, because those don't destroy. So what happens is when your opponent negates the effect of Vanisher and they Veiler your Galaxy Soldier, you can link in a cards like this, like Soul Flare and Union Carrier, and you can get cards back to your hand to keep pushing through the hand traps. Ahashima is really, really good. This is why I love Galaxy Brave, because he makes this card a lot more accessible. Ahashima is better at pushing going second through multiple negates, because what you can do is get a big tempo swing where, like, if you're pushing through these negates and you just have like a Sanctuary, best case example, Sanctuary in hand, you activate the Sanctuary, they're both level 4s, link them off in Ashima. Use Ashima to make a rank 8 play by bringing back a level 8 from grave, level 8 from hand, overlay those into, for example, Cypher Blade, and you just do, Cypher Dragon, then you just do your Cypher Climb for full armor Cypher Blade, get some pops, and you get to spell a trap pop. And then after that, when you're done, you can still make your Soul Flare because one of them have 2,000 attack, which is like super good. And then continue with the XYZs, we play Felgrand, just another monster negator. Titanic Galaxy is good too, like you can in on multiple rank 8s, but when you play against combo, you need the extra monster negate, so Felgrand. It is also like protection from the Biru and etc. Like Felgrand and Photon Lord with Soul Flare with hand traps is a good board. You don't always get to make Infinity because sometimes the Galaxy Soldier is used literally to search the Galaxy Knight and not a second copy of itself. Unless you open Expedition, it's a little bit more difficult to make the play where you go into the Nova and Infinity. But when you open Expedition with your standard combo, you can in on like your Soul Flare, your Lord, and your Infinity, which is like one of the best boards. Titanic is just for like decks that don't always need their monster effects. Like you just need this. It's an important negator, and it's protection too, so they can't just like Pankratox beat over your Soul Flare. Next up, boop boop boop. This package is extremely vital in this deck. It really helps you. Going second is not like the end of the world with this deck. This deck has a lot of high attack beaters that actually have really strong effects, and it's really helpful to use these as one of your last plays. When these are what you go into when you've baited through the negate, so you use these to break the board. Take one of your opponent's XYZs, one of the best things ever, and then go into full armor on their XYZ, and then go into Blade, and you could just like clear so many cards. It's just super duper good. And then next up, we play Infinity Nova for like the superior Omni Negate that you need. Because like your extra deck, you don't really have Omni Negators. Like you have Felgrand and Lord, which are monster negators. You have Titanic Galaxy, which is a spell negator. You have like Soul Flare, which is a pop. But like Infinity is extremely important because it's the only card that you have from your extra deck that interacts with like evenly matched. And then Photon Blast is like super duper powerful. This card might as well just be an insurance policy. So like side decking, I don't really have a side deck right now because there's just like cards that I just wish that I have that I don't have, like Talents, Droplets, Lightning Storm, you know, a Pointer of the Red Lotus, just so many good cards. But I know for sure when you know you're going first, you want to definitely side in Tachyon Transmigration. This is the best trap in this archetype, and it's one of the best traps ever printed in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! It negates entire chain links, and it doesn't destroy, and it's not once per turn, and you just need any Galaxy Eyes monster for this to be live. So if you have Photon Sanctuary and 3 copies of this in your hand, you just open pretty much the nuts, because you can use all 3 of these. All you have to do is just summon Soul Flare, which is like amazing. So a lot of hands can summon Soul Flare. If you could summon Union Carrier, you could probably summon Soul Flare, and that's what turns this on. When you don't have a hand that plays through Nibiru, but you have copies of these in your hand, you can just in on a Soul Flare and just have these. So like Soul Flare gives you tempo, gives you follow-ups, and these are like cards that play through like Dark Lord No More, Droplets, and Nibiru, etc. And they can even negate those cards as well. So that's the only recommendation. I would say like for siding, it's mandatory to side 3 copies of Transmigration. This card is just like so impactful. I don't main it because it's like too risky. And that's gonna make my deck like more awkward because like I'm drawing the wrong cards. Like I'm drawing hand traps and counter traps and not combo pieces. And this deck needs gas to go off. That's just how Galaxy Eyes work. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this profile. I'm going to say a prayer, and that's going to end the video. But our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, Lord Jesus Christ. Thy kingdom come, and thy will be done on earth just as it is in heaven. Please give us this day our daily bread, Lord, and please forgive us of our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, Father, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the glory, and the power forever. In the mighty name of Jesus, I pray. Thank you, Father. Amen. All right. Deuces.